Hey guys, we are so excited to start a new series with you today. We are talking about lies that we believe about marriages. And the first one that we're going to tackle today is if your spouse really loves you, then they should know what you want and need. Stay tuned.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Redeemed Marriage Podcast. This is Rusty and Heather Bryant. Every time we start to hit record, I try to think of something different to say. But
Besides, hello, folks.
hello folks and hey bear. But you know,
I thought
What?
you were listening to the dog snoring, and we're like, why does he go to sleep every time that we're fixing to start
he
this?
is loud. Now everybody's going to be listening.
No, don't listen. He's in the other room right now, so maybe it won't be
It
so
is
bad.
loud. But I try to think of something, but there's, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess you just kind of get, and people are like, hey.
There they are.
There they are,
That's
back,
right. Yep.
familiar.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
anyway,
Yep. You know what? Have we done our podcast since we spoke at that event?
nope.
I don't think we have. Okay, so a funny thing that happened at the event that we spoke at last week is the people who invited us. The wife said, I feel like I know y'all a lot more than y'all know me from listening to our podcast. So maybe it is a familiar voice that they like to hear. You say the
Yeah.
same thing every week.
I think I know for a fact that we have. I mean, obviously, the world is much bigger than Little Clinton, Mississippi,
right.
where we live. But
Mhm.
and we have lots of listeners. But I'm sure there are people here that listen because they tell us they do. But I mean, I feel like our audience is much
Outside of
yes,
this town.
much more
Yeah.
outside of town. But do you ever walk around and like walk in the grocery store and think, I wonder if people are looking at me because they know a lot more about me than I do about them.
yeah.
They're those people.
Yeah.
Anywho, it's okay.
That just tell all.
Yep. Just tell it all. So today we're going to tell it all, and this is yours.
Yeah. So, this series was kind of my idea. I'm super excited about it because I think that, especially from a lot of the messages that we get lots and lots and lots of people who are just believing lies, and they are lies straight from the enemy. And I mean, that's part of our story. Like, we know, and I don't think that that's an abnormal thing. Like, that shouldn't shock you that you've believed in a lie of the enemy. But I think that we know that marriages are a big, big place for the enemy to try to get us because he's after our marriages so that he can be after our families, so that he can be after our witness and after, our testimonies. He wants that. He wants to destroy that. So because of that, we know that there are little lies that we are going to be tempted to believe all along the way. And so we have come up with some different areas and different thoughts that we believe that our listeners and us are tempted to believe about marriages.
That's good. Now that you're kind of talking through it, whenever we have a topic that one or the other is, I guess, leading out on a little bit, the other one's a little bit in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we're not inside of each other's
Yeah,
heads,
yeah.
so we just don't know exactly where we're going
Well,
with it.
and we don't script these at all.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just a discussion.
Definitely not
So,
scripted
yeah.
because we would not be good at that.
Mm-mm.
But when you started kind of explaining it a little bit better, I started thinking about how, you mentioned some of these lies. You were reading some of them off to me, and most of them they're not big things.
Sure.
And like it's, we know that the enemy wants to trap us with the big stuff. Like he wants you to have to struggle and go through infidelity like we did, because that's massive, and like he wants to destroy your marriage. He wants there to be, abuse, and he want the hard stuff. But I think we posted this week on our social media where we said little sins, hidden little sins, become complicated big sins. And I think it's the same way with this. We're not talking necessarily about sins, but we're just talking about how these little things, when you start believing and it gets you kind of down on your marriage, then that's when it leads to something else.
Sure, that's
something bigger and something more complicated. And so I know
where there's no joy and where it just feels mundane because the happiness is not there.
Yeah. And I mean, we know that the majority of marriages don't happen because of we said this, I think maybe even last week, they don't happen because of the big stuff. They happen because of the little stuff.
Most marriages?
Most divorces.
Most divorces. Okay. I was really confused.
You're supposed to read my mind.
Sorry.
I mean, that's what we're talking about, right?
Except that I can't.
All right. Yep. So what are we talking about today?
Yeah. So today's topic is going to be, if my spouse really loves me, they will know what I want and what I need.
Mind readers.
And not just like little things. I mean, not just big things, but little things, like little, I mean, gosh, I can just think of so many examples just from this week, that I thought, why wouldn't he know that? Or he should know that about me, and you don't, even though we've been married 26 years. 26? Is that right?
Hey, don't start asking me about dates and adding things up. I don't even know how old I am.
This man's birthday was yesterday, and he was convinced he was just 48. I had to get out the calculator. I was like, babe, you're 49, I promise.
I'm still 48.
No.
I don't know. I mean, when it gets closer to time for our anniversary, I'll do the math. So you won't be mad at me because I don't know how.
My point is, whether it's 26 or 27, I think it's 26. My point is that even after us being married such a long time, we still, we can't read each other's minds, and we should not expect to read each other's minds. I took your thought. What I wanted to say is I was looking on Instagram while we were waiting on the cake to come out of the oven before we did this. And
Is it my birthday cake?
No, it's for a small group. Focus. And so this sweet little couple that we did premarital counseling for is on their honeymoon. And just looking at their pictures, and I was like, oh, that's just such a fun time, your honeymoon and all that. And I started thinking about our topic, and I was like, nobody expects on your honeymoon for you to be able to read each other's minds. I mean, you're just getting to know each other, really, But I think the further you get into marriage, it's like they should know what I'm thinking by now, or they should know what makes me happy, or they should know that bothers me, but we can't know that.
Okay, well, here's where some of the issue and some of the tension comes into play, I believe. So for the most part, I'm just going to speak in general terms. I mean, we've done enough research on guys and girls, and guys are we are one-track mind. Like, we have, we're very focused on one thing at a time. We can't open a lot of boxes. It's sort of like the show we were watching the other day, Modern Family. Don't judge us. It's a funny show. And we were watching Modern Family, and the whole episode was done on the wife's computer. Yes. And she had all of this stuff. Like, she was Googling
and it
things.
would just show the computer. So there's just windows popping up along, like, as her brain thought of things.
Her remind list, she's making FaceTime calls to multiple people. She's there's
checking Facebook for stuff.
Yeah, just all kinds of stuff. And you made the comment, and you said, that's probably blowing your mind, but we can do that. Like, girls can do that. And I was like, yes, I can't do that. Like, I have to, it's just
you even said it made me tired.
Yeah, it did. And so I think that some of that is because we have, not only do we have this one track mind, but we don't change a lot. Like, our feelings don't change a lot from day to day. Women, y'all's changes like hour to hour sometimes, but we can't comprehend that so much, and so we fail to communicate and to ask or to even communicate how we feel, because we're just like, well, nothing's changed.
Right.
You know what I'm?
Yeah.
So I think another good example of that is like, I mean, my birthday was yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And there was never one time leading up to my birthday or on my birthday where I thought to myself, I wonder what she's getting me for my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some guys may be like that. I'm not saying that you can't.
Yeah.
But
this is just you.
this is me.
Mm-hmm.
So I never thought, man, I wonder what she's going to get me for my birthday. I hope she gets me this. And I'm pretty sure you not one time thought, oh gosh, what am I going to get him? Because you just know, like,
yeah, you didn't want me to spend one dime.
Right.
That's
because
the best birthday present you can ask for.
That's right. Because I mean, it's our money. If I want to go out and buy something, I don't have to wait for my birthday.
I understand that. But if you did that for me,
right.
I would sob.
Exactly. And but at the same time, you're not always the same way from year to year. You know, year to year.
Yeah, it's true.
That's me. Like, it's like, well, I don't have to worry about getting him a present. If he wants to go get him something, he's going to get him something. But for you, I have to constantly ask leading up to it, hey, do you want me to buy something for you? Do you want to pick something out for yourself?
Do you
and
want it
like,
to be a surprise?
right. And the crazy thing is that 3 days before your birthday, you may feel one way, and the day of your birthday, you may feel a different way. And so, but what I'm trying to get at is the reason why guys kind of drop the ball here is because we don't think that way. Like, that's
right.
not us.
That's right. Yep. And I think we have a tendency, and we've talked about this in so many times, but we tend to love our spouse the way we want to be loved. And that's not, I mean, like, once you realize that's what you're doing, it's easy to try to go, okay, am I loving him how he wants to be loved, or am I loving him like I would want to be loved? And for your birthday yesterday, I, like, never in a million years would I want you just to not get me something. I would feel so unloved. But I know the best way to love you is not to spend money on something that you don't really need,
and that I can go get it whenever I want to.
Exactly. And that's fine.
And even in that, you did ask a question, because we were going to go out to eat as a family. And you even asked, well, where would you like to go? And you threw out a restaurant that seriously is one of the most expensive restaurants around here. And I was like,
I would have wanted to go.
Well, and the thing is, that is something that you may have, I mean, I may have been like, yeah, let's go splurge. But I was like, are you serious?
Yeah. But I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to talk you into it.
Right.
And I would have tried to talk you into it. It's your special day.
Yes.
You don't ever want to do anything special.
But there's no chance I would have wanted, like, that's not me.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's you, and sometimes it's not. And so that's my whole point. That's why we have, it's guys have trouble with this. We believe this lie because that's just kind of who we are. And, you did the best thing for me yesterday, because I just kind of did what I wanted to all day.
Yeah.
I mean, you never asked me to do anything like around the house. You were doing a lot of stuff. I went outside. I worked in the yard. And for me, in the past, I think you would have even said, why are you outside doing yard work on your birthday?
Yeah.
But you just know that's what I enjoy doing. And like, it made me feel like I accomplished something. It also made me feel like I was helping the family, but in a way that I enjoyed it. It was fine. It was a good day.
Yep.
So all of that to say, we have to communicate, because especially because the girls, the spouse, the wife, things just change all the time.
Well, and girls, I'm just going to speak in a little hard truth here. We have got to let go of the fantasy and the fairy tale that our men will just know what we want, and that they're always going to give the perfect gift, or they're always going to do exactly what we need done. It's just not reality. Now, I could be at work and know that Rusty came home for lunch and maybe had a little extra time here, and I could say to myself, gosh, I hope, if he loves me well, he's going to know that this is my day with no breaks during my day, and that I'm going to be tired. And so surely he's going to have an idea of what we could do for dinner, and maybe even have gone to the grocery store and gotten something, or surely he had time to put dishes in the dishwasher, or I could come up with 100 different things that surely he would do these if he loved me. But that is a fantasy. That is not reality of how things work. I have to say to him, and not just, hey, can you pick up dinner? Can you put this in it's a daily conversation of, hey, sometimes when you, like when he does something, acknowledging that, or saying, hey, Thursday's a hard day for me. If you have time, would you mind putting the dishes in the dishwasher? Like giving them words of how they can help you, what they can do that make you feel loved, So this holiday's coming up. It would be nice if we could do this, this, and this. I even hinted about my Valentine's Day present this year. I have these special bracelets. They're special to me. And I want one for each year that I've been cancer free, but they're expensive. And so I couldn't just go out and buy 6 of them and then want another one in July. So I have told him over the past several months, if not years, that I would like to collect these bracelets, and I give him little hints, and I can't just expect him to come up with that idea on his own. Mm-hmm. Like that's not, I don't know. There may be some men out there that gift really well.
But again, that's the communication part of it. Like there's even those type of people. Like they may be really romantic in that way, and they gift well, and the spouse and the wife loves the surprises and all that. But then they might be just completely useless when it comes to the wife really likes for the yard to look good, and they just don't even think about that. I mean, that's just the way all of us are. Yeah. There's some things that we're good at and some things that we're not good at, and I mean, all of that.
And you can't try to make your spouse into somebody that they're not.
Right.
Like you just have to appreciate and love the spouse that God has given you, and love them for who they are.
Because they can't be everything.
No.
And like I even thought about that. I was thinking about that today. And because our ritual on Sundays is usually I'll go out for a walk or a run with the dog, and that's right before we do our podcast, and we usually know what our topic's going to be. And so I'm thinking about it the whole time. And I started thinking about just how good you have gotten at like I know that having a clean car is something that's important to you. But, and the thing is we don't have little kids anymore, so our car doesn't get messy. And so for me, I'm kind of looking at it and I'm going, do you understand your car is pretty much spotless anyway? But I know that, but that's just something that I don't do good at, and I don't enjoy it. Yeah. And it's not that important to me. Mm-hmm. Now, on the flip side of that, like the yard is something that's really important to me. Mm-hmm. So you could just get really mad because I don't do.
And I think I used to.
You did. But now we've kind of come to that whole thing where it's like, okay, I'm not good at it. I don't enjoy it. And I'm okay if we need to pay somebody to do it from time to time. I don't want to spend all that money on it, every month when it doesn't even need it. But at the same time, there's also people out there that their husbands, they don't enjoy yard work and they don't want to go out and cut the grass, but you're going to nag them, but then they're really good at just taking care of the kids, and they give them back, and you're like, and you want to look at it and say, well, why can't you be better? Look at that person's yard. Mm-hmm. Well, what if they don't ever even spend any time with their kids? Or what if they never help? It's just, there's just so much that has, and I'm not saying sometimes you have to do things that you don't enjoy doing, and you do it because you love your spouse, but it's still so much of it is just being able to communicate. That's the whole key is communicate.
And just being not scared to give a safe place. Gosh, have we used that word a lot lately? But give your spouse a safe place to have freedom to say, you know, I'm not really good at this, or I don't enjoy doing this. I mean, like you said, you have chores. Everybody has chores that they don't enjoy doing. It's just work. Right. You have to do it. But the big things, you know, like I can remember like being mad that you wouldn't keep my car clean. And honestly, the reasoning behind that is because I grew up with a dad that was important to him. He enjoyed washing the car. Like vacuuming out. There was probably a Saturday ritual around my house. He enjoyed doing that. So again, that was an expectation that I came in to marriage with. Mm-hmm. And that's wrong because you aren't my dad. You are not, you have so many different gifts than he does. And so just leaning into what you're really good at and affirming what you're really good at instead of pointing out the things that you don't do because I think that you should. Mm-hmm. And if you knew that about me, you know, then it would be important to you. But that's not true.
You know, back to the whole thing of my spouse should just know. I shouldn't have to tell them. Well, you mentioned like on the days that you have a really hard day. And there's some days during the week that you don't get a break at your job, and if you tell me, like, that doesn't bother me at all. And it actually, then when I do have time to do it, I really feel like I've done something to help you.
That's right.
You know, and it's not like I'm just doing a bunch of stuff that I don't know whether or not you even care. Mm-hmm. It's like you tell me, hey, this would really help me. And then I kind of do it proudly. Like, hey, I'm helping her do something, you know? And I don't necessarily, because of the way you approach it, I don't take it as, oh gosh, she's nagging me and asking me to do something. It's like she just has said, this would really help me. And then I'm like, man, I'm glad to help.
Even if you don't have time, I know we keep getting on this one example, but it's a good example because it's real life. But like when I used to feel like I was not being a good wife or couldn't do it all if I asked for help. Like if I came to you and said, hey, you know, this day of the week for this reason is just real. And it can be because of soccer practices that you have to take kids to, or, you know, whatever the circumstances are. This day is just a really hard day. If you have time, could you do this? That used to make me feel weak. It was like I'm admitting that I can't do it all, you know, and that's hard to do. And so I know that's a silly example, but that's a real thing in marriage, is being able to say, I need help with this, or could, you know, I feel loved when you do this. Don't let that make you feel weak. It's a great form of communication. And then for you, I mean, you have crazy days, and a lot of time our crazy days hit at the same time. And so instead of saying, well, I don't have time to do that, I've got just a crazy day as you do, what makes you think that I could do that? If you don't, then you're like, hey, why don't we just make tonight a Chick-fil-A night? You know? And so it's not that you have to fix it every time or solve the problem, because you may not be able to do that. It's just knowing I see a need. She's said to me, because that's what we're talking about, you can't read my mind. And so I've gotten up the nerve to say I need help with this, and you making that happen, whether it looks like I thought it would or not.
I think we just get so offended too when we feel like, and maybe we think it's not, you know, we want our spouse to do something because they've thought of it for themselves, and that makes it, for some reason, that makes it more special, you know. And when we have to tell them, then they didn't really want to do it, you know. And we just get in this it's the crazy cycle, you know. You just get in this crazy cycle when biblically, our spouse is supposed to be our helpmate. And so why? I don't know. I just why do we do this to each other?
Yeah.
And this is one of those that, yeah, like when you really spell it out and look at it and kind of take a step back, you go, this one's not that hard, but it's what Satan, I mean, this is where he likes to just dig into these little spots.
Right.
And you just kind of get annoyed and, you know, oh, if they really loved me, you know, they would do this, or, you know, they would do this more, or think about this more, and
it really is all in how you say things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we say this to our children a lot. Like, you can say that to me with the right tone, and I take it a lot better than if you say it ugly.
Yeah.
You know, you can choose to say those words. And so just like, even when you say like, I wish that you would tell me more that you love me, or that I look pretty, or when's the last time you said I like your outfit, or, you know, things like that. And then when you do say, gosh, you look pretty. Well, you're only saying that because I said to
yeah,
say
I know. It's,
and you know, and so when your spouse does try, even if it's not perfect,
yeah.
accept it and affirm it and tell them how much that it means to you.
And let's give some grace
Yeah.
too when your spouse asks you. Like maybe your spouse has listened to us and knows that they need to ask things like, you know, what do you need me to do? How can I help? Like, I mean, coming up on a Valentine's Day, like, hey, what do you want? And I think even then, sometimes you can just, I mean, a spouse can be sort of a jerk for like, why would you even ask me? Like, you can't, you can't surprise me, or you can't. And it's not that at all. It's just like, hey, can I just ask you so you can tell me what you really want? And
remember when we went to Valentine's dinner, and it wasn't even Valentine's Day, and we heard some people arguing in the thing about, in the restaurant, about it's not even Valentine's Day. Like, why does this have to count as Valentine's Day? And I just remember thinking, that's so sad. Like, he probably went out of his way to have a Valentine's dinner and make that happen, and she wasn't happy because it wasn't really on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just feel like sometimes we're so hard on our spouse, and we don't see the little things that they do or say. And if you would just take a breath, and I'm guilty of this too, guys. I have to remind myself daily about this. But if you affirm the little thing that they do, then their confidence is like, oh, okay. And then they want to do that again, and they want to do that again.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're constantly, we call it chopping.
Yeah.
If you're constantly chop, 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 you know, at your spouse, and that wasn't good, and why don't you do this, and this didn't, you know, wasn't good enough, or why did you have to do this, and, you know, then your spouse isn't going to want to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I can't do anything right.
Yeah.
And so, and then it just turns in. So maybe it's an apology. Maybe it's going to your spouse and saying, hey, I've expected you to read my mind. I've expected you to read my mind. I've expected you to know how I desire to be loved. And I just admit to you and confess to you that I was putting too much on you, too much expectation, and I was setting you up for failure. Don't set your spouse up for failure. Don't expect something knowing that even if they're trying their best, they're not going to meet your expectations. And then it's just another reason for you to gripe.
I've said this before, that I wish that every couple that listened to us would grab a couple of fake microphones and pretend like they were having a podcast about marriage, because they would probably learn so much about each other. Because I think that we're forced to communicate sometimes, and things come out on our podcast that, like, we just kind of tuck it away for our own good.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm like, okay, I remember she said that. And like you do that a lot. And like, even this morning, cause I don't know, it was a few weeks ago, we were talking about what men really want for Valentine's Day. And one of them was flirting, and how you have to do it all often, or your spouse thinks that there's something there.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I was singing this morning and I came down and sat with you in church after I finished singing. And I came back down and sat with you. And at some point you wrote on your notes, you said, "You look hot in black." And I was like, oh yeah. And, but I never thought, oh, you're just saying that because I said it on the podcast the other day. But now I'm kind of thinking about it and I was like, dang, I mean, like you listened. I mean,
you said that you look hot and black?
You said it. No, you were flirting.
Oh, flirting.
I said you were flirting.
Okay. You said I was flirting on the podcast. You do look hot and black.
Oh,
I like
yeah.
it.
Well, thanks. How's this black microphone look in front of my face
and
right
black headphones.
now? Okay. Hey, we got to go. That's funny. It really is time to go. So we've spoken too long. Hey, but this week we want to challenge you to just open up and be honest with your spouse. Don't expect your spouse to be a mind reader. We want you guys to be successful in communicating and being great helpmates and doing the things that each other appreciate and love. So just ask and just tell. It's just a two-way communication, and it's got to be a safe place, just like Heather said. So that's all I got. You done?
All done.
All done. All right. Thanks for joining us this week, and we'll see you next time.